Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Gonna do something a little bit different today. I'm packing, getting ready, organizing for my next expedition, and I thought I would give you guys a little brief insight, a little look into the insanity take with me. It's a great video. Stick around. Maybe you learn something, and who knows? Maybe you just get a laugh out of how crazy I am. For starters, I really am concerned about moisture and extra mud and mess and stuff not being organized and kept clean. And also because we are preparing for a kayak adventure, you want everything in a waterproof bag. If it doesn't even matter if you're not expecting rain, you'll have the dew. If you don't have the dew, you'll have that damn drip off your paddle all day long that suddenly you realize has a tiny little puddle in the bottom and it just happens to be laying where you put your jacket. So everything goes in a waterproof bag. Moving right along into what I consider the survival category of my kit, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere without these things. Starting off at the top here, of course, we've got a good survival knife we can cut branches with and make fire, do whatever we need to do, defend ourselves. Good quality sunglasses, super lightweight, super tough gloves. Got a good high quality camouflage tarp. I can get in the tall grass, throw that over me in a rainstorm, and nobody even ever knows I'm there. So also in my kayak, sometimes when it gets too cold, I like this emergency blanket. I wrap it around my feet and my legs really well. And I also have another full-size tarp, but this is a military grade kind of space blanket, emergency blanket. It is super warm. You wrap this thing around you and it keep the rain off and it'll reflect all your body heat. It's the best emergency blanket I've ever had. I also carry another red one that I just kind of stash underneath my seat in my kayak as a backup. So, and then my tried and true trusty Sherpa wool hat. It stays warm even when it's wet, so you never want to be without your wool. I believe in that same concept of socks as well. This is all my emergency stuff. So, of course, I get in and out a lot, and so I can dry my feet off really good and put socks back on. I like to have some ShamWows and clean up messes and dry stuff off. Always needing to blow my nose or something, toilet paper and a little bit of extra in case you have to go up into the woods, if you know what I'm saying. So in the two yellow containers, I carry at least one headlight. Now, one of these headlights goes in the front storage compartment of my kayak, but for all intents and purposes, I'm just showing you. So I always have a backup headlight. I'm like NASA. I don't mess around. I've got batteries for this one, and this one's rechargeable off of my solar panel. So always an extra lighter, always chapstick. You have no idea how much chapstick can rescue you from your hands have been wet all day and it gets cold and your knuckles start cracking. You can just put some of that stuff on, and not to mention what it's actually meant for, which is your lips. A pencil in case I get inspired, want to write some stuff down. A very miniature little roll of duct tape to make a small repair. I like to keep a comb with me because after a few days outside, there's nothing better than combing your hair really good and getting rid of the itchies. And of course, if y'all know what these are for, then give me a wink and a nod in the comments section. Now here I have what doesn't look like much, but this is actually about 50 feet of cordage because it's very thin tent tie-off stuff. So it's really thin, super lightweight, and it can pack into a tiny, tiny little bundle like that. So I've got my magnesium fire starter. You can scrape a little bit of that metal off and then strike a spark with one of these two spark things here, the ferro rod, and you can get a good fire going even when stuff's wet. This I keep with me. It's from an old knife, but I use it. Will be used as a fishing spear, and for a little bit of protection, you can tie this really nicely to a nice stick and have a nice spear. And I've got fishing hooks, fishing line, solar panel, and then we'll move back here to what is a really super important part of this system. This is just what I keep it in. But I like to have two 1 liter bottles, one to fill up with lake water and one to drink out of. And I'll run everything through this Sawyer water filter. These things are great. They will make the shittiest water taste wonderful. And they come with the extra little bag, which I keep for emergencies. And this right here, people overlook the importance of this, but this plunger that comes with these water filters, you hang on to that. Because if you get some sand and grit caught up in your water filter and it just will drip, 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 take like 5 hours to get a half a gallon of water, you'll want to purge out your water filter with that plunger they gave you, and then that water will flow freely. So never underestimate that little thing. Always bring it along with you, even if you don't have room. So, and then to round out my absolutely essentials kit, I've got a emergency rain poncho, and then my nice Sony radio and batteries to back it up with. I'd like to upgrade this, but I just can't find a good emergency radio that I've never had a problem with these Sonys as long as I'm within 40 to 50 miles of a big town. So at any rate, that rounds out the essential section, and we'll move on next. I'll show you some of the clothing options that I got to decide about, and then some little strange extras in the food department that you might not think of, and of course coffee and cooking and bathroom will be following that as well. So stick with me. We're about halfway there. Right here, I just want you guys to note this. I wouldn't want to be outdoors without. If I was in a plane wreck, this is all the stuff I would want in my backpack. You need to keep in mind the weather is completely different when you've been out in it for more than 3 to 4 or 5 hours. 50 degrees can feel very cold after 12 hours. It might be a wonderful afternoon to go out and sip a cup of coffee with a jacket on, but after 12 hours, you're going to be wanting another layer. So keeping this in mind, and the weather is warming up, and this is certainly not the winter kit. In the winter time, I have a lot heavier duty jackets and a lot more socks and a lot more extra layers. But all things being equal, this is my basic summertime, springtime, rainy weather outfits and get-ups. So I'm going to start off with, obviously, never leave home without your hat and sunglasses. And this is probably what I'm going to wear the day I actually go. So just some nice pants and a nice little collared long sleeve shirt that blocks about 50% of the sun. So that shirt itself is like a nice lightweight sunscreen, so I don't have to rub oil all over myself. So like I said, rainy time of year. These are my rain pants. I've had these for a couple years. I really like them. You get them at Walmart, these Coleman's. And then I've invested this year in a new Frog Talk jacket, a really high quality one. I really like these Frog Talk jackets. They're lightweight, they're packable, and obviously they keep you nice and dry. So as a spare, here's a sun shirt. This is a sun blocking, ultra lightweight, moisture wicking shirt. Just an extra little t-shirt. And this is a really nice, thick, but super lightweight fleece layer that just really packs a punch with warmth. So this is like an extra layer inside one of my jackets. Obviously, I've got my ultra lightweight synthetic nylon pretend wool socks and some regular socks to back that up with. And if we get a little bit colder, so I can leave my hand warmers behind, I've got a nice pair of wool socks, which these will stay warm even when they're wet. So my underlayer underneath all of this stuff, there's some daytime stuff. And then as the night goes on, I'll probably put these camo long johns on, and they're pretty nice and warm. They'll keep the wind out and any kind of chill out pretty good. And then that leaves us, and of course, as I go along, I'll be boiling and filtering some water and rinsing my stuff out and kind of doing my laundry as I go. So don't worry, folks. I do come back stinky and dirty, but not as bad as you'd think. I'm kind of OCD and I care about that kind of stuff. So now we move into the backup category, which is this is the NASA side of my brain. So extra lightweight, gonna fold it up really tiny. Another Frog Talk rain jacket that I've had for a couple of years. Wonderfully lightweight jacket. The Frog Talk rain pants that go with those, they bundle up and you just don't even have to worry about protecting them with anything because they're just really solid, sturdy clothing. And then in my absolute emergency, holy crap, everything's wet and I'm still cold bag is, underwear, synthetic socks, ultra lightweight, a sun diffusing shirt, about 50% FPS there, a nice lightweight reversible beanie hat, and some super lightweight Olympic training pants that I can put in combination with my long johns or the rain pants or the frog tog pants, and that makes a really nice second layer. Because remember, I've got my emergency blankets and my tarps as well. This is just what I have on my body. So now I'm going to move on and show you some of the kitchen and bathroom portions of how I live out there. Not going to get too graphic. I think you guys will get the general idea. It's not going to be as bad as you think, but hang on, we're not quite done with all the gear yet. And now comes my least favorite part, to be honest about, both for sheepishness sake and the next things I'm about to say is going to make me sound not only like a complete idiot and a fool, but also a hypocrite. So let's just knock that right out of the park. These are some extras that I take along that are kind of actually part of the Don't Leave Home Without It kit, but these are things that I can get by without. These are things that store in my extra storage up in front of my kayak. They're hard to get to. I have to get out of the boat to even get to this. But here we go. This is basically bathroom and a few extra survival things. So like I said, I like to have my secondary headlight. And these one-a-day vitamins, you would just be surprised how much they really help on a long trip and a long journey. So I'm going to bag maybe 14 or 15 of them up and take one every other day and dole them out to myself. So, but also in my extra backup kit, of course, my cords for charging, extra high absorbent towels, clean my feet, clean the mud off, extra bungee cord for the coping around my kayak to help hold my skirting on so I can be protected from the rain. I do have a miniature New Testament Bible that I always tell myself I'm going to read, but never do. I've got a little magnifying glass in there because my blind butt can't read those letters that small, but I've got a little magnifier. And then I've got some extra fishing line and something that a lot of people don't really think about ahead of time. This is just some paper, some old phone book pages, and some just crap to start a fire with. So if you get dropped off and it's raining, 6 o'clock at night, everything's going to be wet. So you're going to want to have at least something to start off with, and then you save that. If you can make a fire out of your dry leaves, you better do that. But you save you some paper to start a fire with. So now I'm going to move on to the bathroom, which everything except this and this fits inside here. So don't laugh, but it works really well, and it kind of makes dirt stick to you. But I've got some Vaseline in a bag. This is good for my knuckles dry out. I did stained glass for years. My hands are destroyed. My skin gets dry, and my nose and everything, my cheeks, I get sunburnt. So Vaseline is good all-round moisturizer, sunburn care, ointment, keep stuff out of your cuts and bruises. Really handy. Just, put a couple scoops of Vaseline in a bag, roll it up, and move on. Me, myself, I'm a man, 52 years old, and I like to have a little baby powder to dry out the nether regions, and you put it, and you have to wear a dirty shirt for the third day in a row, and you just throw some baby powder on that, and you can get by another day or two. Of course, some toothpaste and some cold medicine and, toothbrush in case I get sick out there. But this is something I never really incorporated into my kit until several years ago after working with some military guys. They lament about how awesome it is to have baby wipes and wet wipes out in the field. And let me tell you what, it's magical. At 10 o'clock at night when it's muggy and you just feel like everything's sticking to you, and you can just wipe yourself down and take a bath with those things and then throw them in the fire, burn them, nothing to carry out. So now to the most interesting part of my kit, which may gross a little bit of you out, but a lot of people have asked over the years, what do you do when you got to go to the bathroom? 52-year-old man in a kayak, mile from shore in every direction, out in the middle of the lake, and you got to go, you got to go. So I always make sure I have something with me for that emergency. If there's a lot of tourists around or people fishing on the shoreline, you're not going to get out and pee in front of them. Sometimes there's too rocky of a cliffs to land your kayak. All kinds of different situations where you might not want to get out of the boat to just take a little leak, and then you can clean yourself up. So that concludes the weirder portion of my gear kit. And I believe all that we have left is to show you my food and my coffee apparatus and how I do all that. So we're almost done, guys. And yes, I will say once again, I have weighed all this. I am way under by about 75 pounds of the capacity on my kayak, so don't worry. Wow, guys, if you're still this far along in the video, I'm absolutely impressed. So let me show you what kind of food I've got for this adventure. And just keep in mind, with the vitamins and the diet that I eat at home, I figure it's okay to eat a bunch of trashy crap while I'm out there. But I do have to make sure I eat and stock up on calories and vitamins before I go. The stuff I'm taking is just going to barely sustain you on a big adventure. So keep that in mind. So we'll start off here with the stuff I need to organize. I'll probably unpackage this stuff and condense it down into some other Ziploc baggies. These freeze-dried strawberries, they're just a good snack. They don't have a whole lot of nutritional value except for some potassium in them. And then these spicy dried mangoes, man, I'll tell you what, when you've got cotton mouth and you just can't drink enough water and you're dehydrated, you suck on these things, your mouth will water for a week, man. You won't have no problems. So I like to keep ramen noodles in case I catch a fish. I'll mix some fish with ramen. I will mix a lot of stuff. I will mix ramen and mashed potatoes together. I always have lots of different flavors of oatmeal. Of course, I got some silverware in there, some oatmeal, and some more ramen noodles. That's a couple of days worth of food and nutrition. And then in here, I've got a bunch of mild Slim Jims, which I'm disappointed I didn't get the cheese kind this time. But I've got a few packages of this premium white chicken, which is pretty good. You mix that with some ramen noodles, and you've got a pretty decent meal. And so with all that, that'll get me several days. And I'll either fish and catch some food or go to the marina and buy some more stuff and stock back up. And then, of course, I've got some people promising to come and bring me some food and take me into town. So I'm going to have a short intermission in the middle of my trip. But this is pretty much about a week and a half, maybe 10 days worth all packed into here. And then normally I mess with regular coffee, but I've got a bunch of instant coffee, hazelnut flavor and sugar. And then, of course, that blue thing is the cup to drink it out of. Extra thing of sugar. I'm probably going to put a few more little extras, maybe some cookies and crackers in here, but I haven't gone to the store yet. But that is my basic food setup. I'm really satisfied. I could last for a week or two on that. If I had to ration it, I could go 2 or 3 weeks on all that. But so there's the basics, minus the kayak, minus the paddles, minus a couple other little knickknacks and zuzus and wham whams and cigarettes, of course. I hand roll all my cigarettes. So I literally have to think ahead to how long I'm going to be gone. And I've got about 2 weeks worth of cigarettes, 10 days rolled up there. And that should get me through. That's pretty much the list, guys. Everything's pretty trashed out and I'm making a big mess. But I'm going to round all this up, pack it all up into bags, and then it's all going to go in a kayak, and I'm going to stay dry as much as possible, and the bottom of my kayak will be wet, and everything should be groovy. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough of my OCD list of things I have. Come back next time, probably be some music or some nature photos next. Just really enjoy sharing stuff with you guys, get a closer look into what it takes to bring all these photographs back to the city with me. It's not easy, but it is definitely a passion of mine to get out there and get some photographs and get back and share them. So until the next time, you guys have a great afternoon.